writer-in-residence, the brilliant Samuel R. Delaney. His eclectic artistic talents range from history of playing violin and writing violin concertos to writing fiction, literary criticism, and even a couple episodes of the Wonder Woman comic. Samuel R. Delaney is one of the most important living science fiction novelists. He finished writing his first novel, The Jewels of Aptor, at 19 years old, and published it when he was 20. His collection of awards includes the Nebula, the Hugo, the Stonewall Book Award, among others. His class-conscious and structuralist sensibilities are reflected in his science fiction and fantasy works, such as the million-plus selling Baldwin and the 4th-volume Return to Never. While Delaney has published a long list of classic science fiction titles, he's also written extensively on sexuality and society. His memoir, Times Square Red, Times Square Blue, is a mix of personal history, urban geography, and sexuality studies with New York City's working-class men, both gay and straight, as his main subject. In 1993, he won the William Whitehead Memorial Award for a lifetime's contribution to lesbian and gay writing, and recently won the Lambda Literary Foundation's Pioneer Award. He has published memoir, photographic novels, a volume of literary fiction that I love titled Atlantis, 3 Tales. Now the author of 40 books plus, Professor Delaney teaches in English and creative writing programs at Temple University. About science fiction, he has said, science fiction isn't just thinking about the world out there, it's also thinking about how that world might be, a particularly important exercise for those who are oppressed. Because if they're going to change the world that we live in, they and all of us have to be able to think about a world that works differently. Please welcome Samuel R. Delaney.
Is a novel, it's a long novel, it's about 800 pages long, called Through the Valley of the Nest of Spiders. And it's, well, what do I need to tell you to set up the particular section that I'm going to read from tonight? Can everybody hear? Okay, good. All right. The basic story is actually fairly simple. In 2007, 17-year-old Eric Jeffers comes to a little town on the coast of Georgia called Diamond Harbor. He's brought there by his father, Mike, who is a welder who works in Atlanta, to stay with his mother, Barbara, who is working as a waitress at a diner in this foundering tourist town on the coast of Georgia. Now there's some not necessarily the most normal of situations, or most usual, normal in a purely statistical sense, most usual of situations. Eric's birth father was a white guy named Cash, and nobody, including his mother, knows Eric's father's last name. Later on, when Eric is about 2 or 3, Barbara has married a black husband, Mike, and Mike is a welder in Atlanta, and they stay together for a good number of years, but by the time Eric is 17, they have divorced. At some point, Barbara calls up and says, hey, I've got a great job, I would really like to take Eric for a while. They get along fairly well, so Mike drives Eric down to Diamond Harbor. Eric is a gay young man of 17 and has been sort of experimenting rather enthusiastically with public sex all over Atlanta. So he's fairly acquainted with this. And when he gets to Diamond Harbor, someone has suggested there is a rather kicky rest stop about 12 miles outside of Diamond Harbor. If you have nothing else to do, you might want to stop in there and see what's going on. So he gets his father to stop at the rest stop. He says, I just have to go in and use the jar, which is what he does. And he uses it for all sorts of things in the 18 minutes and 32 seconds in which he is inside. And while he is there, he meets a 19-year-old young man whose name is actually Morgan Haskell. And Morgan Haskell is the son of the local garbage man. Morgan, when he was about 12 years old, decided he wanted a different nickname. And so, in a rebellious sort of way, he decided that his nickname would be Shit. And he sort of dared everybody to call them that. It's amazing what you can normalize. And by the time he is 19 years old, everybody calls him Shit. It's no big deal. He got the idea because everybody used to say, well, Morgan's a rambunctious little shit. And so it occurred to him, well, you know, if that's what you're going to call me, you know, you're going to do the whole thing. You know? And so that's why he took up the name. Okay. Morgan and Eric meet. And they end up staying together. And they stay together, they meet in 2007, and they end up staying together for the next 70 years. One of the reasons, people are always asking me, well, why do you want to write about something like that? And one of the reasons is because I have been together with my partner, Dennis. Dennis and I have been together for 24 years now. And I wanted to write about relations that endure more than, you know, just the 3 or 4 passionate years that everybody makes the center of so many romances. Gay, straight, doesn't matter. I wanted to put in what I knew about relationships that last, and so this is why I did it. However, the section that I am going to read is when they have been in, when Eric has been in Diamond Harbor, basically for just 3 or 4 years, 3.5, almost 4 years. He's now moved in with Eric, Eric has moved in with Shit and his father, Dynamite. And his father is fairly comfortable with this whole arrangement for one reason, because his father is also gay. The gay society, the gay community has been supported by a character who is off stage for this particular moments. A black multimillionaire who has started a foundation to better the lives of black gay men in the area, and has been doing this since the 80s. So Shit has kind of grown up in this community. Eric is new to it, but there they are, 19 and 17, and then it's 3.5 years later. And so this is a section for after they have been there for 3 years, and because of the Tile Foundation, that's the name of lots and lots of black gay men live in the area. That probably at this particular town, there are probably more black gay men at work doing the various jobs than there are straight guys. That's the way these things happen, because there is this particular institutional support. So, Eric parked on the Sea Road. Indian summer moved through the pickup's window. 3 cars and 2 trucks were parked across in the pull-off, where Randall was climbing down the Pole's stables. Randall is somebody who is their dispatcher in terms of the garbage work that they do every morning. However, Randall has taken a couple of weeks off to help put up some solar panels. 5 young people watched and joked, 3 black women and a Latino guy whom he didn't recognize at all, with no shirt, a scattering of jailhouse tats, and kind of sexy because of it, and all within 3 or 4 years of Eric's age. Below the swoop of wires and the size of a small door, a solar panel tilted towards the clouds up near the sun. High on the pole hung some kind of transformer, and above that a light. "Damn," one of the women said. "I think we got them all up. That didn't take long." And one of the men, "That was a short 3 months. Seems like we put the first 2 up a couple of weeks back, but it was August when all the summer people was gawking at us." On every pole along 3 joining roads was a 300-watt generating panel. Eric had already grown used to them, 20 feet up the 30-foot poles, leaning into the day. Randall stepped back, looking up, then around. "Well, why don't you all go to Fred's, and I'll see you there." He turned and saw Eric in the truck. "You going over to the CC office? I still can't quite figure out why the foundation had to pay the company to let us install them, but we still saved a little money by it." "Hey, I'll run you over." "Good," Randall said. Then he called across his shoulder, "I'll see y'all back at Fred's later." He strode across the road, opened the passenger door, and pulled himself into the cab. "I'll see you over there, Ace." The shirtless Latino raised a hand and smiled as Randall climbed in with Eric and closed the door. "He's pretty nice looking," Eric said. "You ready?" "Sure." Randall cleared his throat. "He's cute, but he's shy." Eric started the truck. "Talk about a fast 3 months. You've been here how long? 2 years? 3? "I got here in July '07. "That's just over 3 years. Randall shook his head. He was a stocky black man from Arizona. "I remember the first time Dynamite called me and said he wanted to start you on the Kyle plant, and I thought he had him a black kid, because I'd heard about your daddy. I guess everybody down here did. Then you and shit walked in, and I was really surprised. But, like you say, it's worked out pretty good. I was just 39 back then. Here I am 43. But I've been kind of wondering how me and Ace are going to do with just the two of us." Again, Eric was surprised. "You guys are together?" "Mm-hmm." Randall looked around. "At least I guess we are. We've been sleeping in the same bed, and I hardly wake up when he ain't down between my legs trying to suck me off. I don't come that way a lot, but if you don't mind, I sure don't. It feels good. I got him at Turpin's, fished him out of this real orgy they were having in there in the back john, and he grinned and come on with me. But he was really enjoying all the guys at once. That's a taste, I know. Only," Randall shrugged, "only we ain't been back there again. At least I ain't. I mean, a couple of times he got off by himself for most of the day, and I figured maybe somebody give him a ride up there. That's fine with me. And he always come back wandering into my place later. Makes me feel kind of young. Now, if I could have managed to get an hour more sleep at night, it'd be perfect." Randall chuckled. "Well," Eric said, "that sounds pretty good. How old is he?" Again, Randall shrugged. 29, 30, 31. Eric made a considering sound. Maybe he's getting ready to settle down. Randall made one back. "Hey," Eric turned up the north road. "You two want to come around next Sunday? I'm going to be roasting some ribs. I can always put together another rack on the grill. We'll have some slaw and some corn on the cob with butter. That'll give you something to do, not to mention some food that ain't your own cooking, or Clem's. We've been eating at the lighthouse a lot. Yeah, I've seen you in there a few times now." "Well, hey, that's nice of you." Randall pulled his arms back through the window and joined his hands in his laps. The blue cuffs pushed up his dark forearms. "You sure that'll be okay with shit and Dynamite?" "Sure it will," Eric said. "They're always curious about new guys like Ace." That's when, up ahead under the trees to the right, Eric saw shit wandering in their direction. "Well, there's shit now." Eric moved his foot from gas to brake. "We'll ask him." The pickup slowed. Randall sat forward and, as Eric stopped the truck, opened the door. Shit stuck his head in. "Well, this is a surprise." Then Hilda pulled himself up. "Hey, boss, what you doing in the truck with Eric? Come on now, move over so I can get in." He squeezed and now slammed the door. "Hey, Eric, what we going to do with this fine-looking old fella? We going to take him out in the woods somewhere, lay him down in the leaves and trade off fucking and sucking him till he comes like a damn 14-year-old? You remember how I used to come with you when I was 14, I bet." "Actually, I do," Randall chuckled. "I still do it that way, too. Shit grinned and moved one leg over Randall's, a square kneecap pushing through the hole in his jeans. That's a real good thing I've done inherited, and I don't think you ever had this fella here yet. Eric is some good looking, real enthusiastic. A couple times with him and he'll have you so he just got a grin at you. You're gonna stiffen right up. That's about how he got me doing. And don't even talk about dynamite. Actually, Eric said, I just asked Randall and his young fellow to drop over for ribs and corn on Sunday. The road got slightly smoother. If you and Ace aim for 1 o'clock, that'll be about when the first rat comes off the grill. Oh, hey, Shit said, that sounds real nice. We can have us some good food and a good orgy too, all of us together. Eric cooks up a storm. We don't mind old farts like you and Dynamite, and it sounds like Ace don't either. Randall laughed out. Shit, do you think you could hold off on the orgy part? Ace is a little on the shy side, and that might be a bit much for him on a first meeting. Oh, don't worry about me. Shit slid his leg off Randall's. Somehow the knee of his jeans ripped further. Eric heard it. I'll break out my company manners if you really want me to. Ahead, on the left, behind a scrap of lawn, stood the rough-out timber planks of the Diamond Harbor Chamber of Commerce office. 2 women from the solar panel installation crew sat on the steps. Hey, Randall said, you can let me out here. My car's around the back. That's real nice of you guys. Ace is probably inside. He likes that air conditioning they got in there. Next Sunday, we'll come over around 1. Good, Shit said. As the truck stopped, Randall reached over for the door. Then, after climbing in laughing, oh, Randall, come on, stay on my lap a while. Give me one of them lap dances everybody tells me you do so good. Ooh-wee, that feels nice. When you come over, you got to teach Dynamite how to do that. Come on now, let go of my ass. Shit, let go of me. Let me out of here. Randall was down on the side of the road. See you this weekend. Laughing, Shit pulled the pickup door closed. Again, the truck began to move. Here, the road was shadowed with pines. So, you gonna bring that Spanish fellow who's been staying with him over? Yeah, Eric said. I think he's a little worried that Ace ain't enjoying himself while he's around here as much as he might, so I just thought I'd be neighborly. He might have some fun, get some good ribs. Enjoying himself? Both Shit's eyebrows rose. Enjoying himself is about all that scrawny jailbird do. You remember last day off when I left you and Dynamite alone at the cabin to have some of that there quality father-son time the 2 of you liked so much, and I went and hitched a ride to Turpin's, where, as you know, I don't ever go. I seen Ace over there too. I had him 3 times, in the front john on the side, and then I just beside behind the rear one with 4 truckers who I was showing the way around the place and how we do back there. You don't have to worry about me trying to start up nothing raunchy with him out of the dump come Sunday. I already had him 3 ways going, so I think I can restrict myself to ordinary social intercourse. Of course, I ain't got curiosity ragging me on. I already know how good it is. Shit moved over in the seat and dropped a hand on Eric's thigh. He should be pretty happy with old Randall. The nigger ain't keeping him on what you'd call a short leash, no more than you and Dynamite does me. Now, why should I be even vaguely surprised? Eric laughed. You already had your dick in that fella stirring it around, getting you a taste of it before all the rest of us. Oh, come on. You know that's just who I am. That don't mean you ain't number 1. Shit's rough hand moved further over between Eric's legs. I'll bring you down onto the truck stop with me next time, so if he's there, you can grab a taste too. Oh, that don't bother me, Shit, you know that. Eric hauled on the wheel. I just hoping it don't bother Randall. He's a good boss man fella. On Sunday morning, just after 12:30, Eric finished grating the carrots into the stainless steel bowl he held slanted on a folded towel on the kitchen table, between the toolbox and a pile of old magazines. Beside it, on the place he'd wiped pretty clean, a cabbage sat in two halves. Eric picked up one and began to draw it back and forth over the wire half of the vegetable grater, which snowed white cabbage over the orange pile. Shit, you want to get the mayonnaise out the icebox? That little bowl with the aluminum foil over it is some grated onion. You want to bring that over here too with it? Sure, Shit said. And you want that celery salt too, don't you? That's right. Dynamite stepped through the side door. Hey, I just slopped some of your vinegar and hot pepper sauce over them ribs outside on the grill. They're smelling real good. Thanks, Eric said. I'll leave turning them to you, though. Next time I touch them, Eric said, they're coming off. They're pretty much done. Outside, a car grunted and growled near him. Shit said, I think our company's here. Then let's go say hello. Eric pulled off the tin foil and felt his eyes begin to water, dumped in the onions, and ran the wooden spoon back and forth over the bowl's bottom, then through the slaw. Tapping it on the edge, he turned to follow Shit and Dynamite out onto the deck to stand beside the grill. Near them, against the wall, stood a bag of charcoal. On the table next to it stood a coffee can of barbecue sauce in which leaned the handle of a brush. Over the table's boards, irregular splotches of sauce made a trail from the can toward the grill. The car door of the dirty yellow Dodge opened, and Randall slid out. He had on a new plaid shirt, which made Eric aware that Dynamite was wearing a pretty spotty t-shirt under his bibs, though it had come out the dryer yesterday evening. Hey there, Randall, Dynamite said. Good to see you, boss. Hey, guys, I know I'm a few minutes early, but I was sitting around by myself feeling antsy till finally I decided, hell, I'd just come on over. If I'm in the way, tell me, and I'll drive around and come back. Maybe I can run over and pick up something for you if you need it. No, Eric said, that's fine. The ribs are done. You couldn't have timed it better. You're always welcome, boss man, Dynamite said. You want a beer? You boys go in and bring some out. I know you ain't going to have none. They got lemonade for them. Shit made it up this morning fresh. You can have some of that if you want. Maybe later, Randall said. No, I'll take the beer. Shit asked, where's Ace? You want one too? No. Randall pulled in a big, loud breath. It's just going to be me today. Oh, Dynamite said. I was looking forward to meeting him. Eric took a step back toward the kitchen, but because Shit did not, he hesitated. Dynamite asked, he coming later? Sit down, boss man, right here. Dynamite dropped his hand on the back of the bench. No, Randall said. He's gone. Ace left yesterday. I asked him if he didn't want to stay around another few days just to come on by and try out your ribs, but he said no, he wanted to get on. So I run him down to Turpin's, and I'm damned if he didn't pick up a ride in 10 minutes just walking around the back lot and asking the Saturday rig guys if any of them would take him. I was going to call you and tell you not to fix for him, but it was funny. Once I got back home, I kept on thinking maybe he'd change his mind and come on back. It was like I was expecting him to walk through the front door saying he'd changed his mind. Randall shrugged, but he didn't. Oh, Dynamite repeated, taking longer to say it. Well, I guess that just means there's more for us. Eric said, I'm going in and get you that beer. He turned and walked over the deck. Come on up and have a seat. Them ribs do smell good, Randall said, and started up the steps. You do them with that vinegar sauce? That's the kind I really like. It's what I grew up on. The rest is all ketchup and sugar. I guess that's okay, but to me, that ain't barbecue. Eric stepped into the kitchen. Out on the porch, Randall was saying, so you guys have been together 3 years. Now that's something. Ace said since the solar panels were all up, he was going to take off, get a ride to Florida, and spend the rest of the winter down there. I guess 3 months was all he could stand on my black ass. But I tell you, I'm going to miss this little warm bud up against my belly every night. Eric went to the refrigerator, vaguely aware that Chit had stepped into the kitchen behind him. Eric felt a little odd that the guest of honor had not come, but since Randall was there, it would probably be okay. Eric opened the refrigerator door and stood looking into the crowded shelves. Something grappled him from behind and whispered into his ear, "Jesus!" A cage of bone constricted around him. That's what it felt like. Eric reached up and grasped Shit's forearm, locked high across his chest. Shit whispered, "Please, please, please, nigga, don't go. Don't decide you want to go to Florida or Atlanta or any place like that." Eric tried to keep his balance because Shit had raised one leg and wrapped it all around in front of him. "Hey, don't worry, I ain't." "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "Really?" "Yes, I am really, really sure. Would you get the plates and take them out there with the beer? And give me 5 minutes to finish up the damn coleslaw? Please?" "Sure. You know, I'll do anything you want. Anything you ever ask me." "Well, take the beer to Dynamite and Randall." "The lemonade for me and you?" Shit's grip loosened. "Yeah, take the glasses outside and I'll be out with y'all in 5 minutes." "Hey, I wouldn't even know what to do if you left." Shit drew in a breath, like Randall's when he had stepped from the Dodge. "I mean, what would happen?" "Well, for one thing, you wouldn't get no ribs. Come on now, go outside and take the plates and the beer and the lemonade." I'm going to have to come back for that." "Then get going." Eric turned, to be surprised by Shit's wide green eyes blinking rapidly, brightly. So Eric hugged him, and again was surprised by the strength of the hug Shit returned. Thank you. Thank you very much. Some months ago, in honor of reading together with Juno Diaz at the Philadelphia Free Library, and Juno was reading from his new book, which is a wonderful collection of stories. If you haven't read it, you should really take a look at it. The title of which is "This Is How You Lose Her." And I thought I should really call my reading that night, "This Is How You Keep It." And Eric and Shit do keep each other for 70 or more, almost 75, almost 80 years together. So that's a little bit of the story of Shit and Dynamite. Rather, Shit and Eric. They don't. What can I say? The book eventually becomes science fiction, although it becomes science fiction very slowly. Because it does move 60, 70 years in the future. And it starts in 2007, so the first 4 or 5 years are not science fiction. Although, as somebody, one of the reviewers said a couple of years ago, after the book first came out, or a year ago, when the book came out in 2012, well, we're into 2013, which is, by this time, the book is science fiction. But it's not anymore because 2013 is almost over. So this is the problem of near future science fiction. But the book does. I think of the book as basically a science fiction, though it's a science fiction novel, though it takes some time for that. I'm going to read. I've had another book that's come out. I'm going to read you a much shorter piece. It's just a little jeu d'esprit, a little taste. The book is called Phallus. Thank you. And I'm just going to read a very little bit of it. It's not even 10 minutes long. It's just to give you a sense of what's going on in some of the book. The conceit is that the book is what would you say? The conceit is that it's a pornographic novella that possibly was written in the 18th century or the 17th century, possibly it was written in 1969. But nobody is really sure, so that there are arguments both ways. It has been synopsized on the internet in the early days of the internet, and because it was an early university website in the days of the Mies Commission, all the explicit sex has been omitted. Okay. In the course of the book, it's set during the reign of the Emperor Hadrian, back in the second century AD, and the site of the book is in Hermopolis, which is the place where the Emperor Hadrian was when his favorite of the time, Antinous, was murdered. So that's the historical center, what the story and the plot turns around. However, we have two graduate students, Minky and Phyllis, who are friends of the person who is synopsizing the text, and they are constantly inserting little comments about them. They're all three of them are great fans of the original novel. They just think it's really just a hoot. They also think that it's rather hot. But they have to get by with an abridged edition. So here we go, so I'm going to basically read you a small section of the novel and one of Minky's footnotes. Randy Pedersen is the name of the man who is synopsizing the book. So there is a page break, and after this prologue, the second chapter, for me, the opening of the novel proper, begins. That's Randy Pedersen writing, and he's quoting directly from the novel now. Tugging up its heave and slosh, pushing them down, spindrift wind swung and swirled above continuous discontinuity, flux and swell, scumbled with foam and nudged by evening slant light through all the colors of glass. A bit of wood slid, turning toward pilings, slowly pogoing and shifting skin, then slid away, but not so far. Another hump smashed to foam along its crest and become wave arched, spuming, repetitious motion, marking an orderliness in this oscillate irresponsibility, shattering shoreward. Back to Randy's commentary, about which, hearkening back to the introduction, surely the last time for many, many pages, and prompted only by the OED, I make one comment. Pogoing? Not before 1921, the invention of the pogo stick. Footnote. Phyllis is responsible for this fact. Thanks again, Phil. At any rate, we are in a storm at the Hermopolis docks on the day of the September equinox. Quote, a turning point as holy for rituals in the East as for any Western sacramental. Despite the wind and rain, the revels of the city's titular deity, Thoth, fill Hermopolis's main streets and squares with processions, chanting, and prayer. Quote from the novel again. Thoth, whose totem is the ibis, the inventor of writing and letters, drops and dice, architecture and astrology. He is the bull among the stars, who, at the behest of Marduk the sun, toppled Babel's grand tower and tore tongue from tongue into the mutually incomprehensible array of human languages, even as his own breath imparted life to all things living unto quill and calamus. Unquote. Back to Randy's synopsis. In the warm and rare Egyptian rain, so far, no one he's asked has been able to tell Neoptolemus where to find the temple he seeks. He is looking for the temple of a nameless god. Again, quote, if a god has no name, what sort of god can he be? One man asks him, urging him to join in Thoth's celebrations. Unable to see his true object, however, Neoptolemus has found himself deviled by nameless dissatisfactions as he walks along the waterfront to wander up this deserted alley or down that empty back street. Quote from the book again directly, "A new city never appears bigger or more confusing than on the day one encounters it." Beside the roaring Nile, and we're back at Randy's synopsis, Neoptolemus sees a naked youth walking up Hermopolis' rainy docks. Even before Neoptolemus can ask the fellow if he knows of that elusive holy site, the well-hung, handsome youngster, perhaps a year or so younger than our narrator, tells Neoptolemus that he is from the city of Bithynia in Asia Minor, and makes clear he is of a randy disposition. All Neoptolemus can remember of Bithynia is that, quote, "I'd heard it was very near Syria, where I had spent my last 3 years, and of course that the elegant Petronius had once been proconsul there as well. It was the home of some dancer Sappho had been smitten with nearly 1,000 years before, none of which told me much about the youth standing on the rain-splattered boards before me." End of quote. Back to the synopsis. Under the peppering drops, the young fellow explains that in search of sexual adventure, he has slipped free of an older lover, leaving him behind at the city's central celebration. Quote from the book again. "But who is he?" I asked. Droplet-speckled shoulders shrugged. "No one really. Above his green eyes, begemmed lashes flickered as lightning flickered over us." "Doesn't he satisfy you?" "Oh, very well. He is elderly, kind, wise, masterful, and handsome. Yet there is always something missing, I suppose, at the core of even the most ardent love, something making those of us with a certain restlessness of soul seek further, want more, yearn to explore beyond all we are given." I chuckled, and like a grumble from a discontented god, thunder above Hermopolis obliterated it. Back to the synopsis. At the youth's suggestion, he and Neoptolemus take refuge in a dockside warehouse, for finally Neoptolemus decides he will have to put aside his patron's commission long enough to take some pleasure from this grim gray tavern. Under the ceiling's dripping beams, on a corner pile of straw, they have sex. It goes on for several gloriously explicit pages, indeed for the bulk of the chapter, wet, passionate, near acrobatic, and exhausting. Quote, "Though I thought it then and have often since, I have never written it down until today, the boy made love like a man condemned to die within the hour, who wished to wrench every gram of ecstasy from the act." End of quote. Spent at last, in fragrant straw with a boy in his arm, Neoptolemus closes his arms. There is then a footnote. We'll skip it for just a moment. Might he be able, Neoptolemus wonders, with later conversation, to locate a calmer strain in this impassioned Ephebe, to more than touch, to grasp, hold, or even determine the outline of what it was that had so far seemed absent in our encounter? Neoptolemus drifts to sleep. Here, this is the footnote, Minky writes, "Having read through and been somewhat lulled by the prologue chapter's low-key sexual encounters, Randy, the first time I passed from there into Neoptolemus's love-making with the young Bithynian, the effect was as if the book went into Technicolor and simultaneously opened into the 3 screens of Abel Gantz's Napoleon, 1927, complete with surround sound. In those 8 pages, all 5 of the senses are appealed to half a dozen times. Here are the differing heaps of palm, genital flesh, inner arm, and nape. The second finger slip across the rucked foreskin, wet with excitement's pre-leakage. The straws roar when you throw the side of your face onto it. How the passing tongue flexes, pressed to a thumb knuckle. The feel, the odor, the taste of 2 male bodies, the hammering heart behind someone else's ribs during orgasm, hammering yours. Times, hefts, shifts in weight and tautness. The slap of belly slick with sweat and rain, a dithyramb of rising and resonating intensities. I know you couldn't quote it, can't describe it, it had to be cut. Still, it was one of my, yes, great first-time reading experiences. In one way, I'm glad you didn't try to recreate it. In another, well, when I read your synopsis and reached this part, the bottom fell out of my belly, as it might have had I rounded a roadway's bend expecting to see a mountain menacing silver clouds, to find instead a graveled waste to the bald horizon. Randy again. Thanks, Mickey.